you believe that the the creative entrepreneur is going to be the key to making a living in this business?
We're in a revolution. We don't know where we're going. Well, I always figured there'd be 100 million TV channels, and I was thinking that since the 90s. So,
We're not too far off.
we're not too far off. And it costs you nothing to upload your film now to YouTube and actually profit from it. So you can actually become your own studio and your own distributor. Now, what the next thing is, how do you get an audience? And that comes back to being imaginative in some way. We did a TV special on magic many, many years ago. And to complete that show, we hung a guy in secret over Niagara Falls and did a straitjacket escape. And that first of all, when we went to Niagara Falls Parks Commission, they said, no frickin' way, you're never going to do that. So then we realized that we'd been totally rejected. And then we decided, okay, so then we analyzed who was on the parks board, found a guy who was 80 years old, who knew my father-in-law, and we asked him if we could show him one of our movies. And we showed him a movie that was about sports heroes of Canada. He came out of the screening crying, and he then let us go and make a presentation to the board again, who had already totally refused us. And I happened to go to that on a day when they were fixing Niagara Falls, and they had a crane outside filling in concrete on places on it. And I said, I really, first of all, have to apologize. I failed to tell you how important this was to our company. But secondly, I'm going to tell you a secret. My guy who's doing this stunt, who was the amazing Randy, says it's no worse than falling out of bed. It's like no danger. But we don't want to tell people that. And then I said, you already have people hanging out over the Niagara Falls right now if you look out the window. So all that effort ended up that I was able to shoot Amazing Randy upside down over Niagara Falls in secret in the middle of winter. And then we held the photographs until the show went on the air. And I phoned up every newspaper in Canada and I said, we will give you exclusive on these photos that no one knew we'd done of a stunt at Niagara Falls if you'll put them on the front page, and we won't let any other newspaper have them. So, and we ended up getting front pages with our stunt, which promoted our movie. Now, is that effort normal, or is it what you have to do? I don't know, but it's certainly, for us, it was the only way we could break through the clutter that we had back then. And I think that same kind of application of energy, whether it's finding a reason why an audience should tune in or finding a reason why a buyer should buy, those things are really part of making films. And I learned from Norman Jewison. My luck was that we did a lot of short films, then we did a lot of TV specials, and we were not being given support to do a drama. And I eventually found, through a friend of mine who's another filmmaker, said, CBC's giving 10 grand to anybody that can make an idea as a young filmmaker that they'll approve. I decided I would write a drama, which was the most miserable experience in my life. Never done it before, didn't know how to write. I was 30. I'd always been too scared. Ended up working with directing actors that I'd never done in my life. It was the most miserable experience. My partner edited it like a sports film, took every pause out of it. It was a piece of shit. And I was so embarrassed. I sat with him in the editing room. In those days, it was tape and film. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, my God, I've just let everybody down. We have to do something. What happens? What does his face look like before he says that line? And my partner goes, oh, okay.
And that was a minute, and that took a minute to do back then.
Oh, yes. And you look at it, it looks like the guy's thinking. And you go, oh, my God, what else can we do? So I went through the whole thing, doctoring it with my partner, putting in intercuts, expanding the pauses, and it won 14 awards. And I'm going, no, you don't understand. I just barely survived this. And Norman Jewison offers me free, paid for by the Canadian government, come to Hollywood. And I'm going, oh, I don't deserve this. I mustn't do this, because there's a thing called Imposter Syndrome. And when I'm coming back to something you were talking about earlier, the people, I'm invited every year by Final Draft to meet the winners of the Final Draft contest. And what I do is I have a breakfast with them and I talk about imposter syndrome, which is the failure to take advantage of an opportunity. And we only get those opportunities once in a while. And if we question ourselves during that opportunity, instead of pushing to its most possible beneficial outcome, we fail ourselves. And we're going to be polite We're going to feel like it's wrong to push ourselves, and that this is probably a mistake and we don't deserve it. And I will frequently ask them, what else have you succeeded with? And I say, oh, I was leading the school play. I had several writing prizes. And you realize that these people have a consistency, but they don't validate it. And that's one of the most dangerous things as a creator, is not believing in yourself and not going to take opportunities. And I say my worst personal damage is the things I failed to have the courage to stick my neck out and try. Mm-hmm. And I call those my errors of omission. And they still haunt me for going, oh, you idiot. You could have walked across the room and asked that guy, that actor, you didn't do it because you didn't. And so I want to encourage people, take the frickin' shot, because your errors of commission, where you embarrass yourself briefly, minor compared with the opportunities you might find. And so going back to taking another shot at Niagara Falls, it was embarrassing. It was scary. I'd already been rejected. Les Moonves, when I had the idea of trying to revive the Twilight Zone, the last time it was revived, rejected me soundly 3 times in a row. Actually said yes and then changed his mind. Then I sent him a letter saying, because he changed his mind, because the system, they said, TV couldn't use anthologies. And I said, well, you've got 60 Minutes and you've got Unsolved Mysteries. They're anthologies, same host every week, different stories, and they've been #1. That's not the same thing. So I get shut down. Then we got this clip of pieces from our Outer Limits TV series, which was science fiction, fantasy, some wonderful, really fascinating CGIs and things we were doing at that point. And we put this together to demonstrate what we've been doing. And I said to my partner, John, could you put the Twilight Zone music on that? So then I delivered it to Les Moonves, and his people thought it was fantastic. And Les says, I'm not doing this. Stop it. Then Les gets control of UPN, which is the network at that time that had Star Trek on it. And that was their #1 show. And I go to my partner, John, and said, could you go to Les and mention that Twilight Zone might be good? Because we found, by the way, that they owned the Twilight Zone. So it was not me coming to them with something. I'm trying to actually get them to do something. But I love the Twilight Zone. And I'm the only person who's actually revived both the Twilight Zone and the Outer Limits. So my partner says, no, you have to do it. And I'm going, I don't know how to do this. I'm too scared. He's gonna scream at me. And then what I did was I found what I call a framing device, which is, and I'm taking you through the steps of trying to be entrepreneurial. I found something that made me comfortable. And a framing device, we use these terms because we need to help each other find these things, which is something you could say or something you felt that protected you so you could take the risk of sticking your neck out and trying to get to your dream. And my framing device was, I wasn't courageous enough to phone Les, but I was willing to write him a letter. And my letter that came up to me that gave me permission to talk to him was, Dear Les, so help me. I swear I will never mention the words Twilight Zone to you ever again after this. And that was my framing device. And I felt great. And then I wrote, how about it being a companion piece to Star Trek? I was in his office the next day. He said, I'm giving you 10 days because we're up against the deadline. You can write whatever you want, a 10-minute presentation, whatever you want. I wrote a 1-hour pilot. I didn't know I could write a 1-hour pilot, but if you frickin' put yourself under it's amazing what you can do. Mm-hmm. We were shooting it within 40 days.
That's amazing. That's unheard of in the industry.
But it's because the demand, his need, I was filling his need. He's taking over a network. He has a #1 science fiction show. And the idea of teaming it up with one of the greatest anthology series is, and we always bowed to it not being us. We were picking up the mantle of storytelling, but it wasn't our show. We were celebrating what had gone before. And that's an example of not giving up.
It's
They won't always work, but once in a while you end up with a success, and then we end up being 22 of them. So
that's amazing. And one thing that you said there,
because we had 2 stories every episode, so that was
fair enough.
easy.
Fair enough.